Konbanwa minasan. Kyo desu. Interesting topic today. Let's talk about immigration. Immigration is a huge topic in the world at large. In America, we're dealing with immigration right now, as well as countries in Europe dealing with mass immigration. And recently, Kono Daijin, the foreign minister of Japan, who deals with foreign affairs, he has suggested a potential solution that in order to solve the low birth rate problem in Japan, they should allow a mass amount of foreigners to come to live in Japan. Now, with dealing with this mass idea of immigration coming to Japan, I think there's two things that we need to deal with when it comes to this proposition. First is that I think mass immigration is going to cause a lot of challenges for Japan. Japan is a very homogeneous country with 98% of the country being purely ethnically Japanese. And I think having an influx of people from different cultures, different backgrounds into Japan is going to cause a lot of tension. It's not like America, who's a melting pot, where we've kind of, best way possible, we're able to function as a society with different groups of people in America, because the point was that people would assimilate and be united under the idea of freedom and the American way, and basically adjust themselves into the American ideal of living. But because Japan is a very unique culture that only has one really distinct culture, I think having an influx of other people are going to start changing the dynamics of the economy and the relation with the Japanese people with gaijin. For example, many other Asian immigrants from different countries oftentimes come to Japan, and there's a huge problems of them stealing food or stealing livestock or not obeying the cultural rules and regulations. There's a lot of people who go to Japan or even go to different countries in general and generally do not assimilate properly to how the society functions. Not to mention crime and criminal activity. And I'm not saying every foreigner is a criminal. However, Japan is one of the safest countries on the planet. And I think bringing different people with different belief systems, different values, and different agendas into a country that is predominantly fairly safe, it's going to cause a lot of problems. I guarantee that crime will skyrocket. There will be more criminal activity. It's going to be dangerous for people to walk out at night, especially depending on where they get these immigrants from. If you look in places like France, where they have a mass immigration from Arabs and refugees from the Middle East, and a lot of these people, sad to say, oftentimes rape women, they attack people, they kill people. Knifing has, skyrocketed. There's a lot of problems when you bring people from other countries into your country. Now, I have no problem with immigration. I think if you want to go to a different country, you should go. And I think countries should invite people if they believe they're going to add to the country. For example, if you are renting out a room in your house, of course, the tenant that you want to make sure that they're working, they're safe, they're not bringing in criminals or drugs or, other illegal activities. You want to make sure that they're living there for them. They're not trying to sneak in some other people to live with them. You want to make sure they pay their rent on time. They're a respectable person. Of course, you would want that, because what landlord would want to deal with a tenant who pays their rent late or is, loud or destructive or causes problems? It's the same thing with a country. If immigrants want to come, you vet them out. And if you feel that this immigrant can add to our society, can boost our economy, they can add more jobs or be part of the workforce, fine. But if you're just bringing immigrants for the sake of bringing immigrants to solve a problem that I feel should be solved internally in Japan, you're just asking for a whole other set of problems. And I already know foreigners have a bad rap for even doing business with or even renting out apartments or buying apartments, because culturally, Japanese are very much people who are on time with things. They're very diligent. They're very disciplined. And a lot of times you find other foreigners don't have that level of consistency that Japanese people do. Not only that, the economy is going to change. Economics basically is the behavior of people, what they do, what they spend their money on. And when you invite other people who have a different belief or different way of thinking than the Japanese, let's say right now, the foreign population changed to like 10% in Japan. You're going to see shifts in the economy, how to do business. Some areas are not going to be as safe anymore. Let's be honest. It's no hate to foreigners, but again, it's a clash of cultures. There's going to be a shift in the economy and things are not going to quite be the same. Now, human nature doesn't like change, whether it's good or bad. Change doesn't feel good. So imagine a whole bunch of Japanese looking at the country being like, this is not the Japan that I lived in. Where are all these foreigners coming from? I don't feel safe. Why are they changing this? Why are they changing that? And you're going to see a huge spike an anti-gaijin sentiment, because they're like, these gaijins are coming into our country and they're changing things and they're making life difficult for us. And even in America, we're allowing a lot of illegal immigrants. This Biden administration has basically left the borders open. And now we have a flux of immigrants coming in from these third world countries, and they're taking jobs from Americans, they're taking welfare checks from the government. So our tax money is going to people who are not even citizens, and that's causing a lot of trouble. Now, again, I'm not against immigration, I'm against illegal immigration. But concerning Japan, I think the issue that Kono Daijin is trying to promulgate is that bringing foreigners here is going to somehow increase the population of the Japanese. I think it's heavily misguided. The low birth rate problem, which is the second point I want to hit, is that it's a problem that has to be solved internally. I think Japan, there's a lot of factors that attribute to the low birth rate in Japan, but I think one of them is the overworking culture. I believe Japanese people are overworking themselves to the point where no one has time to go home and start a family. It's either work, overworking. You're not getting paid for your overtime. You're often stressed out. Of course, there's a phrase I forgot, where Japanese work themselves to death. It's like you don't even have time to spend time with your family or even start a family because you're always working. And especially with the rise of things like prostitution, pornography, there's actually a decline in relationships, even in the West, of how prominent sex work is becoming. Because instead of a man and a woman going together for sexual relations, you're going to a brothel or a prostitute or some sex work or watching porn, and that's replacing an actual girlfriend or a relationship or a man in a relationship. And because the Japanese are not having kids, there's actually a shortage in the workforce, where now they're actually trying to do a thing where they're inviting more women to work in the workforce. And for me, I don't think this is a proper solution. It's a temporary solution, because honestly, women working overtime, or let me say not overtime, but women constantly working all their lives, is going to bring misery. What I mean is, physically speaking, women are meant to work for the rest of their lives. Typically, what is supposed to happen is that a woman would meet a man, and the man would be the breadwinner. I'm not saying that the woman can't work or go to school. I'm not saying that. You should be able to make whatever choice you want. However, men are physically built to handle more pressure. They're more built to work longer hours, and that's why men tend to make more money, because men are built to handle the stress and the heavy workload of work, while women, not discriminate against them, but physically speaking, they're not as strong or as diligent as men, physically speaking. So now you're gonna have a whole bunch of women in the workforce who are not gonna get married, and then they're gonna be old, not being able to do much physical work, because let's be honest, women are not as strong as men physically. That's not a diss to women, but just physically, that's reality. So now we have men and women working, and there's no children or marriages being made. So now the Japanese population is declining. I honestly believe this is an internal issue that the Japanese people have to fix themselves. It can't be from the government. I think there needs to be a culture change where marriage needs to be, again, at the forefront, and understand that Japanese people need to understand that if they don't have kids, if they don't have happy families, that their country is in dire trouble. Because if you don't have proper families, that affects the whole economy, because families are the foundation of everything. And the economy, again, is basically the behaviors of what the people are doing. Are they spending their money right? Are they saving their money right? Are they happy? Are their mental health okay? These things like this matter. And having a whole bunch of foreigners who have different concepts of life, who have different religious beliefs, who have different, ways of life and ways of thinking, is not magically just gonna pop out babies. Not only that, you just don't want babies. You want babies raised in a 2-parent household where they have the best possible outcome of upbringing they can possibly get. Because let's be honest, kids raised with single mothers or single fathers tend to have a harder time, because kids need both examples of how to look at a marriage. They need both their mom and dad to show an example of how marriage should work. And a child needs his father to teach him certain things, and a child needs his mother to teach him certain things. And I know some Japanese people are concerned because they don't hate foreigners. They're not racist, but they understand if they get a whole bunch of foreigners coming, they can imagine their country that they love so much being changed. And that's happening in America right now. It's happening in Europe. A lot of countries, France is not even the same country it is anymore. There's a whole bunch of crime. It's not the city of romance and love anymore. It looks completely different, because when you have a different group of people slowly taking over if you have a whole bunch of refugees who come from these countries and they enter France and they're populating, having babies more rapidly than the French people, eventually that country is not going to be France as you know it, because the people there who are becoming the majority have a different belief system, different culture, and that country is going to change because countries are based off the people. So I don't think mass immigration is going to solve Japan's problem. You can't use something from the outside to heal something from the inside. It has to be healed from the inside out. And I think that Japanese need to address their low birth rate problem. I think their priorities need to get back in order. And I think families and marriages need to be at the forefront, and teaching men how to be proper men, teaching women how to be proper women, and raising kids in a two-parent household in a healthy environment. That's going to save Japan, because if you attack the foundation, which is the family, the whole country is going to be in ruin. And again, having a whole bunch of women in the workforce is a temporary solution, because eventually these women are going to be miserable. And a lot of women say when they grow older and they don't have families that they're miserable because they wish they can carry children. They wish they can have a man next to them. And when you have older women who can't work as much, that affects the economy, that affects the country. And there's going to be a lot of raising in depression and unhappiness. But that's my thoughts on the situation. I'm really eager to know what you guys think, so please leave your comments down in the comment section below. So if you guys like this video, please smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. Also hit that bell as well to get notified whenever we post a video. Arigatou gozaimasu. Minasan. Ja ne.